Welcome back. In this video, you will understand two styles of web services, RPC style and document style web services. We will start our discussion with understanding how to treat web services. Whether we should treat web services as a remote procedure call or should we treat web services as messaging. So let me just ask you here. Whenever a client has to invoke a web service, what he is doing? He is sending an XML document, and as a response, he is getting XML document. I can also say that client is sending an XML message. He is receiving a response as XML message. So, should we treat web service invocation as one way of messaging? Or I can put web services in another way also. Let's say I have a web service on one machine like this here. This is a web service on some machine which is having some procedures or methods. Then on the client on another machine will try to invoke this procedure, remote procedure. So the client is making a remote procedure call. So should we see web services as RPC mechanism or messaging? In earlier days, like in around 1990s or in early 2000s, people used to see these web services as RPC mechanism. That is why the Java community they named the specification for web services as JAX RPC, Java API for XML based remote procedure calls. But they later realized that we should not see web services as remote procedure call. We should see web services as documents exchange, or we can see web services as messaging mechanism. Client is sending an XML message, he is receiving an XML message. The client and server will be exchanging XML documents. So they realized that we should see this web services as document exchange. So when they are coming up with the next version of specification, they renamed JAX RPC as JAX WS, Java API for XML based web services. In earlier version JAX RPC, there also the client used to send an XML to the server used to send a response back. But the root tag of the XML represents the method name on the server side to be invoked, and the child tags of this XML represent the method arguments. These are the XML was looking like when it was JAX RPC. Where if it is RPC style web services, the tag name should identify the method name to be invoked, and the child elements of this root tag should represent the method arguments. These are the XMLs were exchanged. But in the other style of web services, that is document style web services, where client and server will be exchanging XML documents, we call that web services style as document style web services. In document style web services, the root tag do not necessarily represent the method name. It can be something else. And the child elements of this root tag do not necessarily represent the method arguments. We define what is the XML schema which is exchanged between the client and server by writing a schema, that is XSD. So the XML which is exchanged between client and servers is defined, the structure of that XML is defined inside a schema. But whereas in RPC style, for the XML which is exchanged between the client and server, there is no schema. So RPC style web services do not have schema for the XML which is being exchanged. But in document style web services, we will be having a schema. And what is the advantage then? If the incoming XML is having a schema, when the XML is sent by the client, when it comes to server on the server side, Even before invoking our logic, we can validate whether the incoming XML is according to schema or not. So nowadays, document style web services are preferred over RPC style web service. Okay, so nowadays nobody uses RPC style web services, but to give you a clear understanding, suppose if you are working with some legacy projects, old projects, you might somehow see RPC style web services. You should know the difference between RPC style web services and document style web services. I'll give you an example on how to write a WSDL for RPC style web service, and also how to write a WSDL for document style web service. Anyway, we have till now written for document style. Now let us see how to write for RPC style web service. So I will just show you. I have a project already. RPC style. If you see the WSDL file, see, is there a schema right now for RPC style web service? If you see the whole WSDL, there is no WSDL types here. It's not there. And coming to first port type, this port type stock code is having two operations. One is get price and update. For get price operation, the input message is defined here. What is it? Get price. This is the message. So get price is having only one part, and this is the message for response. Just because my get price method is taking only one argument, one method argument, my message is having a single part. See my method get price method. Just see, my get price is taking only one method. Get price method is taking only one argument. So that is the reason why get price method is having only one part. If your method is taking two arguments, like in case of update, see, for update, what is the input message? v:update. Where is it? Here. See, for update method, as it is taking two arguments, for this update message, there are two parts. So in RPC style web services, one message can contain n number of parts. But whereas in document style web services, let me just open the previous WSDL. Whereas in document style web services, if you see for update method, for update message, for update request, how many parts are there? There is only single part, where the part is defined inside the schema. See, this is the schema. In schema, it is having symbol and price. So in document style web services, if you see, in document style web services, one message will have only one part, and that is a complex part defined inside the schema. But whereas in RPC style web services, one message may contain multiple parts. So if your method is taking two arguments, then your message will contain two parts. Three arguments, three parts. This is the first change which I want you to understand in RPC style. Okay. Then once the message is done, port type you understood. Coming to bindings, here as I want to use RPC style, then I have to specify style equals to RPC. Earlier we saw style equals to document. Now it is RPC. Then one more thing. When it is document style, if you go back to the other WSDL where I am doing document style, in operation, I am saying soap body use equals to literal. What about here? Soap body in RPC style I am specifying soap body use equals to literal, and I am specifying soap body belongs to this namespace. But whereas in document style, am I giving the namespace? No, because the body is defined already. Whatever is coming inside the body is already defined inside the schema, and the schema is already having a namespace. But in RPC style web services, The body does not contain any schema. We have to manually specify what is the namespace to which the body tag belongs to. Similarly, for output also we need to specify the namespace. That is one difference I want you to understand. Okay. And you have to make sure that use equals to literal. Literal means we are specifying that the body will not be encoded, the body will be plain XML. In older versions of SOAP like 1.0 and 1.1, use equals to literal, use equals to encoded was also supported, but starting from latest versions, use equals to encoded is not recommended and is not supported. If I generate the Java classes, if I try to generate the Java classes by using the configuring use equals to encode, I will get an exception. So right now, nowadays, we always use literal style, whether it is RPC web services or document style web services, it is always use equals to literal. Okay, that's it. So this is how I defined everything. And one more thing, each part, for each part inside the message, we are giving the type is equals to and specifying the part type. But whereas in document style web services, let me show you the part of the message. Part name is parameters and element means we are telling to go inside the schema. So we are referencing to the schema. In schema already the types are defined. But whereas in RPC style mechanism, for each part we have to specify this part is of type what? String or double what? Okay. So that's how I wrote my result. These are the changes. To summarize the changes, first change is in RPC style, one message may contain multiple parts. If your method is taking two parts, two arguments, then in WSDL the corresponding message will contain two parts. If your method in Java code interface takes three parts, the input message will take three parts. And you need to specify the type of each part also, because we don't have a schema separately. That is the first difference. And second difference is inside the binding we have to specify style equals to RPC. Then third one is the SOAP body should be assigned with a namespace. In document style web services, the namespace, actually the body, for the whole body, we are defining a schema and schema has a namespace already. But in RPC style, the body doesn't contain a schema, so we have to specify the namespace for the body. Those are the changes. Others all are same. Now, if I generate code using this WSDL, while generating in the script, do I need to do any changes? Nothing else. It's as usual. By using WS import, we generate the code as usual. And if you observe the generated code, this is the interface. If you observe the generated code, on top of the interface, SOAP binding annotation is saying that style is RPC style. This annotation is extra now in the generated interface. Then inside your method, here for this method argument, what is the part name? Part name in WSDL is same as the part name whatever we are giving. This is the WSDL part name, right? So in the interface which is generated, web param, part name is extra. Okay, that is what I want you to observe. Okay, and also there is nothing like request wrapper and response wrapper annotations on top of each method. Okay, these are the changes. Now this is RPC style web service. While implementing, you don't see any differences. Only the annotations will change. When the client is sending a request, the XML also will look similar to this. Only thing is the way it looks like is different. We treat that this tag name identifies a method name in case of RPC style, and the RPC style does not have a schema defined. And one more confusion I would like to tell you here is, suppose let's say update method. I want my first update method to take order object. My update method right now is taking what? String symbol and double price. Let's assume that my update method in the generated class should take order object as the first argument. Now what I should do? I should write the WSDL colon types. I should write the schema, and inside the schema I should define a complex type. Access the schema. We just define a complex type. Name is equals to order, and it contains a sequence. Just I'll give some small things, sequence, and I will write say XFG colon element, name is equals to order ID, type is equals to say XFG colon int, similarly one more tag I will write, product name, and I'll say XSD colon string. And now here for update I will write one part, WSDL colon part. I'll say name is equals to order, and I'll say type of this order is what? TNS. What is the namespace actually here? Way. The whole everything belongs to by default way namespace. Here type is equals to okay. So for this schema, do I need to specify the target namespace? And say the target namespace is the same, and I will use a prefix. Now let me check here. Type is equals to way colon order. So in RPC style also there can be schema. Your part can refer to a type defined inside schema, but there can be multiple parts. For all parts there won't be a schema. For the whole body there is no schema. Individual parts may contain a schema. Otherwise, how would I make my method to take complex objects like order? Let me just generate the code. Again I will be running this build and build. Successful. Let me just refresh. See, order.java is created based on the schema, which contains order ID and product name. And stock code now the interface should be taking update method should be taking order class. So people always feel that RPC style web services do not contain schema at all. Remember, RPC style web services may contain schema for parts. If the method argument is a complex type, then a part can refer to a schema. But there can be multiple parts. There won't be a schema for the whole message part. That is the difference. Okay. Hope you have understood the difference between RPC style and document style. Same thing I was telling here. So now what you have to do is you have to open this document. There is a seventh one, RPC Style Web Services. I have given the steps clearly. Follow these steps clearly and you will be able to write a whistle for RPC Style Web Service, and you will be able to generate the code and test it. So go ahead. I'll meet you in next video.